let's bring Alex Jones in for the show today, host of InfoWars. Alex, good to see you. Thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
All right, it's always great to talk with you. I want to talk with you about the mainstream media, of course, is all in a tizzy today because President Trump has banned Reuters, Bloomberg, Associated Press from traveling with him on Air Force One during this historic Middle East trip. And the mainstream media says President Trump is just, he wants to ban journalists because he's against the free press. He's against free speech. He doesn't want accountability. You and I know that there's more to this story than meets the eye. So what is behind this?
Well, I mean, there's a lot there, but Reuters, AP, going back to the late 40s with the establishment of the CIA, and even before that, OSS and then MI6, is really the mouthpiece of Western intelligence. And of course, that came out in 76 in the Frank Church Senate hearings on the deep state and Operation Mockingbird, the CIA with the major networks, but specifically AP and Reuters. And so we saw with a lot of the Doge disclosures, billions of dollars in the last 4 years to Reuters particularly, but also AP, and then billions to other corporate media institutions to put out talking points and direct lies. And that goes back to the repeal of the Smoot-Mundt Act in 2013 by Obama that pushed it, and Congress did that, legalizing, quote, domestic propaganda by the CIA, posing as media. So lying to the people, not just propaganda, but outright lying. And we saw other Doge fines this year where $9 million a few years ago from the Pentagon to Reuters. So there's all these different agencies, putting into the kitty to promote basically official COVID lies. And it's titled Widespread Disinformation Operation, Widespread Deception Operation against the American people. So they even give it really nasty names that are accurately showing what it is. So it's not enough for Trump to put in his own people at NSA and CIA and State Department. You have to understand that the Biden administration, the people running the auto pen, front-loaded the hundreds of billions stolen out of the new Green Deal slush fund, 370-something billion that disappeared all over with Podesta managing it, the billions out of USAID, out of the EPA and other agencies, front-loaded. I mean, it came out, they admittedly did that, billions of dollars into this, knowing Trump was coming in, but they would still have these stay-behind networks to counter him. And that's not new. That specifically goes back to 2016 when Trump was the incoming president then. Obama, in the Defense Authorization Act for 2017, one of the last things he signed was that bill. There was over $2 billion in there for creating the Office of Countering Foreign Disinformation Propaganda Act. And that specifically was tailored to pay for all of the fake dossiers and lies about Russiagate and to target American journalists. And then it even expanded more in 2020. And now I knew this because I covered it at the time and was targeted by it and would actually follow in congressional hearings. They weren't even really hiding a lot of it then, but it wasn't something the general public, even most journalists or media pundits knew about. But then the new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, brought in Dr. Darren Beattie, who'd formerly been an advisor and speechwriter for Trump, and who's an expert on the deep state, in to do an investigation into what the State Department was doing through that Office of Countering Foreign Disinformation Propaganda Act, targeting Trump and his supporters. And then what the Secretary of State, just with an interview with Mike Benz in the last few days, came out and said they now have the names of the people being targeted. This is the State Department then directing law firms, PR firms, private detective groups, and we now know hooked into the Justice Department for also criminal investigations. And that's what happened to me, because it's now come out, of course, I'm one of the main 12 names. There were thousands others they targeted, but 12, particularly Elon Musk, Alex Jones, President Trump, Joe Rogan is in there, even though he wasn't as hardcore years ago. They were still worried about him and still trying to undermine him. So these orders go out, you get sued, they choose judges that will then find you in default or you're already guilty, that have a show trial at HBO like I did. It's now come out that they raised hundreds of millions of dollars off my name. They got over $4 million in Justice Department grants for the lawsuits. I've released all that information last month. Also, as soon as Trump got in, they sent me an FBI file where Obama declared me a top national security threat in 2013. And Trump didn't find this in his first admin. They found it now. Those documents are all public. where there was still an ongoing espionage investigation, not even saying who I work for. Gosh, I don't know. I thought I was an American patriot. But an ongoing investigation for over a decade, of course, found nothing. So espionage, criminal investigations. My co-host put in prison for being with me on J6, not going in the building. They just said he went in and sent him to prison for it, didn't care. So Secretary of State Rubio says in the interview with Benz, he explains, they didn't just censor people and attack people. You then got lawfared, you got sued, you got debanked. And he says they're going to release all the details soon. We just got in the company P.O. box a few months ago, and it was postmarked the 24th of January. So 4 days into his administration, they were already sending these out. And I'm told by other people that were targeted, other people got not their whole FBI file, but basically cover sheets of 193 different investigation files on me, specifically out of the Boston office. That would be Mueller's old people. Trying to find something on me, but that predates Russiagate and even predates the Trump era. But it just continues on. So it shows how you have this illegal conspiracy against rights and abusive processes are all key terms. I've already filed lawsuits. I'm filing more against the Democrat Party organizations. Paul Weiss, who's already that law firm confessed to quote illegal lawfare against President Trump, promised to pay $40 million in restitution to community service. Now they've claimed $20 million of that is from their suits of me. So I don't think Trump knew when he made that deal with them to make restitution and stop doing political targeting that they would count that as $20 million out of the $40 million for targeting me. And this is all public. And again, I could go on. Each one of these things is a whole story in and of itself. But that's how they've done this. And so they got embarrassed in the 70s when it came out. They went underground. Then it expanded under Obama. And so then people ask, well, why ban Reuters, AP, and Bloomberg? Number one, they're not banning them from being on the air. They're not banning them from making up whatever lies that they want. They're just not there on Air Force One to then misrepresent what Trump has said in text to get ahead of his agenda and try to sabotage him when he's trying to get his actual message out. Nobody's more transparent. Nobody has 5, 6, 7 press conferences a day like Trump. He had more in his first day in office than Biden had in 4 years. The idea that he's censoring is a total lie. He's not burning books or saying don't give elementary students graphic pro-pedophilia novels that I'm still shocked looking at as an adult. No, that's not. Not giving Jack Daniels to a 10-year-old is not liquor prohibition. It's a prohibition on giving it to minors. Not giving cigarettes to 15-year-olds is not banning tobacco. It's a prohibition on that. So it's the same thing, with the so-called book burning or book banning. The Democrats are the censors. They're the economic lawfare terrorists. They're the ones that have done this. So Trump kicking him off Air Force One is because he understands what's come out now, that he may be getting a lot of the bad people out in the government, but all that preloaded, front-loaded money and all those operatives were already there from the CIA and the NGOs. But now even more of them have gone out of government into that and are working with that big stash of cash to engage in disinformation operations against President Trump and the American people. And then, of course, you have Jeffrey Goldberg, a well-known Israeli / CIA Obama operative, with his whole disinformation thing where, Hegseth's the target because somebody added him on a Signal chat, and then it's Waltz, who they've now removed. And so Trump is learning about the Israelis running operations against him. And that's really no secret. It's always been going on to American presidents, but it's expanded. And so Trump is really getting more sophisticated about kicking the intelligence agencies out. It's not enough to take Brennan's security clearance away. You've got to then understand that they've just moved into or were always in the media system. Trump's been taking national security clearances away from the big law firms that he learned have been working against him as well. So he understands that 90% of intelligence operatives are not actually in the CIA or the Defense Intelligence Agency or the NSA. They are operatives of it, at least 90%. And so Reuters, AP, and Bloomberg, as I've said for years, it's come out now, are the heart of the CIA disinformation operation that Trump still hasn't gotten control of. So the least he can do is not get near them or not let them be on a plane where they can be using the wireless to send back lies about what he said he's going to do. And when he lands, people have already been told something that isn't true, or that's a mix of truth and lies trying to sabotage his agenda. So very smart. I don't think he should have corporate media anywhere on Air Force One. Nowhere around him. I think there should be some of them, maybe a lottery, in the White House or in the briefing room, just have it be scrambled by a computer, kind of a sweepstakes things, every week and tell you who's going to be there. Because I think we need the corporate media to laugh at them and expose them and, show they're a fraud. But at the same time, you don't need to give them preferential treatment or put them at the front of the trough. And you sure as hell don't want them in Mar-a-Lago. These are serious spies, okay? These are people that want Trump dead, as the former one of the deputy heads of the CIA, Mudd, said, we're going to kill this guy on CNN. So we know the Secret Service stood down. We know the FBI stood down in Butler. All of this. So the more he can keep these people away from him, NPR reporters slamming him in the face with a microphone, obviously on purpose. I mean, these are dangerous, dangerous people, and he needs to stay away from them.